All right, we got on the bench today a 6 F35, and this is out of a 2019 Ford Escape with a little, I think it was a 2.0 or the 1.6, a little small four banger. This one was slipping and skipping, revving high, just having a bad time trying to get down the road. I see these a lot. We're probably looking at converter failure. That's the number one cause of issues with this thing. Is the converter just, for some reason, they just go bad and they put all kinds of fine metal in there and cause all kinds of problems. And you can see the fluid looks terrific. Not. Nice and super dark. Used to be red at one point. Oh yeah. It smells pretty nasty. Unplug our neutral safety switch. Unplug our output speed sensor. That's our input speed sensor. I think it's a 30. Yeah. Got them all. We'll get the tin out of there. That's the valve body. As you can see down here, this is all the debris, it's really converter material, and not the lockup lining. It's more like the metal pieces and coming apart, bearings and sprags inside there just disintegrating themselves. A lot of times these things will shake violently when you put them in gear, and that's from the sprag failing inside the torque converter. And people will change engine mounts and motor mounts, transmission mounts, still have the shake. And it's the transmission, the converter going out. A few people will not believe me on that, but there is a Ford TSB about it, technical service bulletin, that outlines that issue. Now what's irritating is this is a joint venture with General Motors. So Ford and GM put together and designed this little transmission here. And GM decided to use a gasket here, little metal bonded gasket with rubber on it. And Ford said, nah, we'll put silicone on there. It's such a pain in the butt to clean up. And we'll tap this side, get this dowel pin loose here. Alright, once you got the dowel pins loose, then we got to pick this whole thing up. Now, the pump is bolted to the back of this, and it can be a little cumbersome lifting this from this angle. Because there's your internal filter and your pump. Assemblies here. Ring gear for the differentials there. And here's differential input shaft, and this is the seal for the lockup circuit, and there's bushings in here I'd like to wear out as well. We gotta pay close attention to. So pull our differential out, set that aside. Sun gear. This is our, come on, chain guard. A little shield to keep oil from slinging everywhere. And we'll pull out the chain drive. This is what transmits the power from the gear train to the differential. And come on. Uh-oh. There we go. Usually not a pain in the butt. Parking pawl. I'm sorry, that's the actual parking. This is the parking pawl here. That's what the parking pawl engages to keep this thing from moving when you put it in park. There's the chain guide. It's got a little wear on it. Bearing. Now these cases like to wear out. You can see here this bearing is actually eating into this case, and so the options are replace the case, or they do make a kit that helps you save the case and builds it up and so the clearance is correct. The oil slinger out of here. Alright, get this big snap ring out. Catch it just right. It's a bevel snap ring, so it's probably locked into place. There it goes. There it goes. And it is a tough one. I'll just walk it around. There we go. This is directional. Okay, now sometimes if we are on our A game, this whole entire assembly will come out as one. Yeah. There we go. And that is the 2.6 piston. It is into the case. That is the apply ring. And the piston, everything's down here. Pop that out. So splash ourselves in the face with old nasty transmission fluid. And this is important. This is supposed to be here, and that's down there. You have to install that piston correctly or cause issues. There she goes. And we'll pull this ring tower out after we let this thing drain. Alright, this is basically the entire gear train here, minus your differential. And this is your 1, 2, 3, 4 clutch. Now, typically I don't see the clutches that burn up in these. I mean, sometimes a 4, 5, 6 will, or 3, 5 reverse sometimes, but typically they would all be in good shape because the converter just fails. And for some reason doesn't really take the clutches out as often as some others do, but it does happen. This is our dual piston set here, either 1, 2, 3, 4 in the low and reverse. This is the low and reverse here. Planetary. Check out our pins. The 6 speeds didn't have problems with planetaries as much as the 8 speeds did. The little 8-speed transmissions were notorious for planetary failures. 6 speeds for some reason. Don't know what they changed about them, but I mean the planetaries almost look the same. I'm missing, oh, that's missing some washers there, a little too much play. That's not great there. It's a little sus, as the kids would say. And this is the one-way. It's working. It's 2.6 clutch. And the 2.6 clutch a lot of times has these little hot spots. I think it's because it drags. I'm not sure why. But they don't burn up completely. They just leave little hot spots, which is strange. Put that over there. This is 3, 5 reverse, 4, 5, 6. It's 2, 6. Back over there. Let's see if I can get this off. There's a little snap ring I had to get out inside there. These 4, 5, 6 are not burned up. Not super happy either. And these are the 3, 5 reverse. This is, I gotta put this in the press and assembly and get this all apart. They don't look like they're mad. Usually get heat on the outside. I don't see any there. These drums like the ring groove. I can feel the ring groove in there. The ring groove is because the seals are supposed to puff out when the fluid hits them, and they're supposed to spin with the drum. And what happens is they won't engage fully, and they'll be stationary, and the drum will spin, and it'll cut the sealing ring into the actual metal. And you can feel one of the top upper 2 lands here has some grooving. You're gonna have to address that. We're gonna make sure to check all our bushings. It's got some bushing wear there. You can see it. Usually this one and this one are the two biggest culprits, but like I said, these bushings in here will also wear, and these can wear as well. Come on, pump. Starter comes off with a twist. See, that magnet looks very spicy. There's two of them there, if you couldn't tell. One here, one there. Give this a quick open up. I think it's is it 30s? Yeah, I think they're all 30s. These got little dowel pins holding it in place, and we'll work those apart. Make sure we got them all. Sometimes there's some in the front, just don't see it. Get you off the dowel pins. Called G rotor pump. Not in terrible shape. And now these units do suffer from pressure regulator valve bore wear. And that is pretty severe one there. There you go, PR bore. And that can contribute to issues with the converter, shifting issues. All. Anytime you got a leak in the PR system, that's your pressure regulating system, it can have consequences throughout the unit. I can't say this is the chicken or an egg deal. Is this causing the converter failure? Is the converter causing this to wear? Or are they just going hand in hand? I can't say. And I'm going to show you these solenoids. Now, solenoids, when they are activated, they act like little magnets, little magnetos. You put power to them and they attract metal. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to go down a rabbit hole with this one. What are we doing here, guys? Where's my 20? Not in order. Unacceptable. So this is a lead frame, what Ford calls them. Basically, it's a plastic molded frame with a bunch of either wires or ribbons, computer ribbons built into it, and basically goes from your solenoids, your neutral safety switch, your input sensor, to the connector here that plugs into the vehicle, and then goes to your control module. So look at all the sensors, and inside here there's ribbons and wires, kind of like you'd find in a PC. so these little pins hold in the solenoids. And we don't want to lose those. We need those, but let's see if I can. Here, of course, it's gonna make me a liar this time. You rat. There's a little bit in there. Sometimes these get so packed full of metal down inside here. There's a little metal accumulation there. And down inside here, the pintles, they'll let the metal accumulate because it becomes magnetic. And you see I'm pulling some out of there. See? Sometimes it gets so bad this will be all filled with metal. I don't want to mix these solenoids up because their flow rates are all metered for the individual circuit they're in, and if you move them around you can cause shift issues, or you can low pressure to the clutch and you can burn them up. So I'll make sure I put them back where they came from, and then during the cleanup process I will label each one and take them out and clean them individually. But I was trying to find one. These aren't that bad. I've had them where they're just packed full of metal in there. So it's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Okay, so I'll tear all this down the rest of the way, get this all apart, and get it all cleaned up, and then check things out, because as I'm cleaning it up, I might find more issues. That happens a lot, because I mean, this nasty fluid can mask some things, like especially in the valve body or the pump. And so I'll get it all cleaned up in the solvent tank and see if there's anything else that I need to address before we put it back together, and then I'll have it all cleaned up on my table, and then I'll get all the update parts and new converter, of course, and all the new inside parts, frictions and seals and stuff like that, and then go back together with it. So yeah, this is it for today. Thank you for watching. Little PS to the 6F35. I got it all apart and cleaned up, and I know I said during the video that they look good. They didn't look burned up, which they're not burned up. These are the 3.5 reverse clutches we had looked at earlier. Once I got them apart, there was definitely some slipping going on. I mean, not major slipping, but definitely there was some slipping there, as you can see by the hot spots here. So the steels are, hot spotted up, and the frictions have evidence of some slipping. So yeah, you got to make sure that now, I mean, I was going to tear this apart all the way regardless, but if there's some people out there that don't take the entire unit apart, and these are the things that you might miss. And it doesn't look like a lot, but I mean, I feel like it's not acceptable to reuse this kind of stuff. But people will leave it together and say, it'll be all right. They look at the outside and looks fine, but on the inside there's something else going on. So make sure you don't skip over the small things. They can come back to bite you in the end. Thank you.